My best friend stole my startup idea. I let him fail spectacularly before launching mine. The air in our shared graduate dorm at Stanford always smelled of ambition, ramen noodles, and the faint, sweet ozone of overheating electronics. For me, Leo Vance, it was the scent of the future. My mind wasn't in the lecture halls of the computer science department. It was in the architecture of a problem I'd been obsessing over since my father's small manufacturing business had been strangled by inefficient supply chain logistics. The problem was fragmentation. A world drowning in data but starving for coherence. Thousands of disparate systems shipping manifests, warehouse inventories, customs forms, fleet telematics all screaming into the void, unable to speak to each other. The solution, which came to me in a caffeine-fueled epiphany during finals week, was a protocol I called Synapse. Not another EP, but a universal, lightweight data translation layer. Think of it as a digital UN interpreter for machines, allowing any system to understand any other, instantly, without costly custom integration. It was elegant, it was necessary, and it was, I was convinced, world-changing. The only person I trusted with the raw, trembling excitement of this idea was my roommate and best friend of 4 years, Marcus Thorne. Marcus was everything I wasn't, effortlessly charismatic, born into Palo Alto tech royalty, with a smile that could disarm venture capitalists and a confidence that bordered on the telepathic. He was the frontman, I was the architect in the basement. We were a perfect duo. I'd whiteboard the complex algorithms, and he'd translate them into a narrative that made people see dollars and destiny. "This is it, Leo," he'd said, his eyes wide as I finished my passionate, scribble-filled explanation on our living room window. We'd run out of whiteboard space. "This is the one. This is the key that unlocks the next industrial revolution. We're going to be billionaires." I'd emphasized, a thrill shooting through me. For the first time, I wasn't just a brilliant coder with a good idea, I had a partner who could make it real. We spent the next 3 months in a state of symbiotic mania. I wrote the core protocol, a thing of mathematical beauty. Marcus crafted the business plan, the pitch decks, the story. He knew people. He set up meetings with angel investors from his parents' network. He talked about synaptic systems with a fervor that made even me believe we were prophets. The plan was to secure seed funding, build a proper team, and develop a minimal viable product, MVP. I was to be CTO and co-founder, with a 40% stake. Marcus would be CEO, with 40%. The remaining 20% was for early employees and the seed investors. We shook on it. We celebrated with cheap champagne. We were brothers. Then, the pattern of subtle shifts began. Marcus started taking introductory calls with investors without me. "Just greasing the wheels, Leo. These old money guys get spooked by too much technical jargon up front." He began to refer to the idea as our concept but the implementation as the engineering challenges, subtly divorcing the vision from the architect. He urged me to hand over the core code repository to a shared company GitHub for transparency and future due diligence. I was naive, trusting. I uploaded it. The crash came on a Tuesday. Marcus called me, his voice strained, somber. "Leo, we need to talk. Meet me at the Blue Bottle in Soma." The cafe was full of the low hum of deal-making. Marcus looked the part, perfect Patagonia vest, artisanal coffee already cooling beside him. He didn't meet my eyes. "I've been having deeper conversations with the investors," he began, steepling his fingers. "And the feedback is consistent. They love the vision. They're terrified of the technical risk. They see the core protocol as a black box. Your black box." A cold knot formed in my stomach. "What are you saying? They'll fund it? But not with you as CTO. They want an established name, someone from Google or Amazon Cloud. They see you as a brilliant graduate student, not a proven engineering leader." It's an optics thing. A risk mitigation thing. The world tilted. Marcus, I invented the black box. It's not a black box to me. It's my life's work. I know, he said, reaching out to pat my hand, a gesture that felt condescending, funereal. And you'll be compensated. We'll buy the IP from you. A generous licensing fee. Maybe even a small advisory equity stake, like 2%. You'll be set. You can finish your PhD in peace. 2%. A licensing fee. He was offering me a severance package for my own child. The betrayal was so complete it was almost elegant. And if I say no? If I walk and build it myself? Marcus's face hardened, the friend vanishing, leaving only the capitalist. Then I build it without you. The deck, the narrative, the investor relationships, they're mine. The code is in the company repo. I've already filed the provisional patents under the new corporate entity, Synaptic Systems Incorporated. The investors are lined up. It's happening, Leo. With or without you. Take the deal. It's the only win you'll get. I sat there, hollowed out. The noise of the cafe faded. I saw it all now. The separate calls, the slow appropriation of language, the request for the code. It wasn't a pivot, it was a premeditated coup. My best friend had performed a hostile takeover of my mind. I did the only thing I could. I let the devastation show on my face. I let my shoulders slump. I looked broken. I need to think, I mumbled. Of course, Marcus said, the sympathy back, oily and false. Take the weekend. But the term sheet is waiting for signature on Monday. I walked back to the dorm in a daze. But by the time I reached my door, the shock had begun to crystallize into something else, a cold, diamond-hard clarity. He thought he had everything. But he'd missed the fatal flaw. You see, in my original Synapse protocol, there was a foundational assumption, a beautiful, elegant assumption about data packet handshaking that allowed for its lightning speed. I called it the polite introduction. But during our late-night sessions, Marcus, trying to be helpful, had suggested a more aggressive, market-dominant approach. Why introduce yourself? Just assume you're in charge and start talking. Be the alpha protocol. It was a stupid, brute force idea that violated the core principle of mutual recognition, but in a whiteboard frenzy, I'd sketched a version of it to humor him. I'd called it Alpha Synapse and shown him how, in a controlled, perfect environment with two known systems, it could seem faster. That sketch, that half-baked, arrogant variant, was the version he'd taken. He'd copied the whiteboard, not the deeply considered code in my private, local repository. He'd stolen the sizzle and missed the steak. The alpha variant had a critical weakness, under real-world load, with multiple, unknown systems querying simultaneously. It would create a cascade of unresolved handshakes, a digital traffic jam that would spiral into a complete system deadlock. A race condition from hell. He'd built a castle on a fault line, and I was the only one who knew when the earthquake would hit. I didn't sign his term sheet. I sent a one-line email, I'm out. I packed my things, moved to a cheap sublet in Oakland, and washed. Marcus's launch of Synaptic Systems was a masterclass in hype. With his family's name and the stolen, dazzling premise, he closed a $5 million seed round within a month. He hired a team of pedigreed engineers from top tech firms, who proceeded to build the flawed Alpha Synapse protocol with the kind of budget I could only dream of. The tech press adored him. Wunderkind revitalize state logistics TECH. The protocol that will connect the world. He was featured in Forbes 30 Under 30. He moved into a gleaming Soma office with a climbing wall and nitro cold brew on tap. I, meanwhile, became a ghost. I lived off my meager savings and the small licensing fee I'd ironically demanded and received for my contribution, Blood money I viewed as war funding. I rented a desk in a gritty, communal hackerspace in East Oakland, surrounded by idealists and anarchists building the next thing. I found my team there: Anya, a fiercely brilliant Ukrainian systems architect who'd fled corruption and hated bullies, and Ravi, a quiet, relentless Indian database savant who spoke in code more than words. We were the island of misfit toys, united by a belief in elegant solutions and a deep disdain for the Marcus Thorns of the world. We didn't build Synapse. We built Axiom. The name was a statement. An axiom is a foundational truth that is self-evident, requiring no proof. Our protocol was that truth. We fixed the fatal flaw, not by patching Marcus's alpha approach, but by returning to my original, beautiful polite introduction principle and refining it to perfection. We built in redundancy, error correction, and a graceful degradation model that made it not just robust, but anti-fragile. It got stronger under stress. While Marcus spent on marketing and office beanbags, we spent on cloud compute time and cheap takeout, stress testing Axiom against scenarios of catastrophic failure. Marcus's trajectory was a firework climbing into the night sky. He secured a Series A of $25 million. He announced partnerships with major shipping and retail names on paper, letters of intent fueled by hype. He scheduled a grandiose live launch event at the Moscone Center, promising a live demo connecting systems from 3 continents in real time. The invite list was a who's who of Silicon Valley. His face was on billboards. He was the golden boy. The day before his launch, I received the hand-delivered envelope. Thick, creamy stock. It was an invitation to the launch event. On the back, in Marcus's familiar scrawl, "Wish you could have been part of this, Leo. Hope you're well." It wasn't kindness. It was a victory lap, a final twist of the knife. I held the invitation over my small trash can, then paused. I smiled. I would go. I needed to see it. The launch event was a spectacle of corporate theater. Lights, music, a stage that looked like it belonged at a Steve Jobs keynote. Marcus bounded out, radiant in a black turtleneck, and delivered a pitch-perfect performance. He spoke of connectivity, of breaking down walls, of a new dawn. The crowd was mesmerized. Then came the live demo. A massive screen lit up, showing a simulated global map. "Watch," Marcus boomed, "as we connect a warehouse in Shenzhen, a cargo ship in the mid-Pacific, and a distribution center in Long Beach in real time." He tapped a button on a sleek tablet. For 3 glorious seconds, it worked. Data streams flashed on the screen. The crowd murmured in appreciation. Then, a flicker. A loading icon spun on the Shenzhen node. Then the Pacific ship icon turned red. An error message flashed on the Long Beach feed. "Handshake timeout." Marcus's smile froze. He tapped the tablet again, more urgently. "We're just building the connections," he said, his voice losing its timbre. On the big screen, the error messages proliferated. The Alpha Synapse protocol, faced with the simultaneous, real-world query load of the demo, was doing exactly what I knew it would. Each system, trying to be the alpha, was shouting over the others, refusing to listen, creating a recursive loop of unanswered requests. The system log, now unintentionally displayed for all to see, scrolled with a cascade of fatal errors: deadlock detected, race condition failure, core protocol stack overflow. The screen went blue, then black. The silence in Moscone Center was absolute, then shattered by the frantic whispers of 1,000 people, the clicking of camera shutters capturing the implosion. Marcus stood paralyzed on stage, the tablet hanging limply in his hand, his face a mask of dawning, abject horror. He stared at the black screen as if it were a portal to his own ruin. His engineers scrambled behind the curtain, voices rising in panic. I stood at the back of the room, unseen. I felt no joy. I felt the solemn, terrifying satisfaction of a physicist watching an experiment confirm a dire prediction. The fault line had ruptured. The castle had sunk. The aftermath was swift and brutal. The live-streamed failure went viral. The Moscow massacre, tech blogs called it. Investors pulled out. Partners terminated letters of intent. The flawed protocol was unpublishable. The core intellectual property was revealed as unstable. Marcus's company, Synaptic Systems, bled out in weeks. He poured his remaining personal fortune, his parents' money, everything, into a futile attempt to fix the unfixable. The company filed for Chapter 11 within 2 months. He was personally liable for millions. The Golden Boy was now a cautionary tale, a ghost in the very community that had adored him. 1 month to the day after the Moscow massacre, we launched Axiom. No billboards, no live demos, no fanfare. We simply published the white paper, a peer-reviewed, mathematically dense masterpiece, and a silent, open-source version of the protocol on GitHub. We emailed it to the CTOs of the same companies that had abandoned Marcus. The response was not excitement, but relief. Engineers looked at the white paper and saw the elegant solution to the problem Marcus had so publicly, catastrophically highlighted. They tested it. It worked. It worked under load, under stress, beautifully and boringly well. Word spread in the right circles, not the flashy VC circles, but the grimy, vital circles of actual practitioners who made global logistics run. Our first customer wasn't a Fortune 500 company, it was a mid-sized agricultural co-op in Iowa struggling to track grain shipments. Then a medical supply nonprofit. Then a mid-sized port authority. Each success was a quiet brick in our foundation. We charged not exorbitant licensing fees, but fair, scalable subscriptions. The money started to flow, real money, from real solutions. 6 months in, a legendary, notoriously shrewd venture capitalist named Eleanor Vance called us. She'd read the white paper and tracked our early adopters. She came to our Oakland hackerspace, sat on a wobbly stool, and said, "Tell me why you are not him." We showed her the code, the stress test results, the grateful emails from users. She wrote us a $10 million Series A check on the spot, for a 10% stake. Her term, "Don't get fancy. Just keep making it work." We didn't get fancy. We got big. Axiom became the invisible, indispensable plumbing of the global digital economy. 2 years after launch, we were a unicorn, valued at over $1.2 billion. We moved to a proper office, but it was functional, not flashy. Anya was my CTO, Ravi my head of research. We were wealthy beyond dreaming, but the money felt like a byproduct, not the point. The point was the elegant, truthful solution humming at the center of it all. I heard about Marcus through the grapevine. He'd declared personal bankruptcy. His marriage had collapsed. He'd left Silicon Valley, moving to some small town in the Pacific Northwest, his name a permanent stain on his family's legacy. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, as I was reviewing a proposed expansion into maritime logistics, my assistant said there was a walk-in visitor at the downstairs lobby. "He says he knows you. A Marcus Thorne. He looks rough." A part of me wanted to say no. But a larger part needed to see the final chapter. I told her to send him up. He looked decades older. The charismatic swagger was gone, replaced by a permanent slump. His clothes were cheap, worn. He stood in the doorway of my spacious, sunlit corner office, his eyes taking in the view of the Bay Bridge, the simple Axiom logo on the wall. "Leo," he said, his voice sandpaper rough. "Marcus. I figured it out. Later. The flaw. The race condition. You knew." I did. He absorbed the confirmation like a physical blow. "You could have told me. You could have stopped me." I leaned back in my chair. "I tried to tell you." The night I sketched the alpha variant, I said it was inelegant, that it violated the principle of mutual recognition. You said elegance was for poets, and the market wanted dominance. You weren't listening. You'd already stopped hearing me. He looked at the floor, a muscle ticking in his jaw. So you let me crash and burn. You watched me lose everything. I didn't make you steal the idea, I said, my voice calm, devoid of the old anger. It had been burned away in the forge of our respective journeys. I didn't force you to cut me out, to file the patents, to build the flawed version. You did that. All I did was refuse to save you from the consequences of your own choices. The market didn't reject you, Marcus. Reality did. You built on a lie, and gravity always wins. He had no retort. The truth was a cell he couldn't argue his way out of. Is there? He began, then faltered. Is there anything here? An advisory role? I know the industry. I looked at him, this broken remnant of my best friend, and felt a distant, profound pity. But trust, once atomized, can never be reconstituted. No, Marcus, I said softly. There's nothing here for you. This company is built on truth. On axioms. You'd be a variable we can't afford. He nodded, a slow, final acceptance. He turned to leave. Marcus, I called out. He paused. The licensing fee you paid me. I used it to build this. So, in a way, you did invest in my startup after all. Thank you. He didn't turn back. He just walked out, closing the door with a soft click, leaving only the quiet hum of my computer and the view of the bridge, a structure that worked because it respected physics, not because it gave a good pitch. I turned back to my screen, to the work that mattered. The stolen idea had died a noisy, public death. But the true idea, nurtured in silence and integrity, was now connecting the world, one polite, flawless introduction at a time.